All right, so we had a computer crash here or whatever. So it stopped at some point. I don't know exactly where it was, but I was explaining that my sister had passed away, my uncle had passed away, and then my aunt kind of like took up the reins on this or whatever, and just a month ago or whatever is like I kind of got in a situation where I don't know what's gonna happen with me. I don't know what my situation is gonna be. My income is not enough to sustain both the studio and my apartment, so I gotta kind of figure out, what direction we're gonna go. So I was thinking about coming back to the United States. I was like, you know what? I've really kind of accomplished my objectives here. I've really kind of been able to, let me move this mic up. I've really kind of been able to accomplish the things that I set out to accomplish when I came here. It's like I was able to get the information. I was able to set up some business stuff that I was doing, things that I want to do. I was able to fail enough in that prospect or whatever. And, I was able to have a great time and just be free of the hassle of the United States and the job market and the craziness of that. I was free of that. So I feel like I've accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish. The financial things with the credit and all that kind of stuff is like I kind of want to accomplish that. I feel like I'm on a have a better foundation for that now. And if I went back to the United States, I'd be in a much better situation. And then I'd add the money and the income to that, and then I'll be in a better place. For being there. But man, I'm looking and I'm like, I don't know how you guys are doing it with the prices. For example, let me show you this here, like on this other screen here. Let me show you, see if I can pull that up. This is the house that I built in Apopka in the year 2000, 2001. We built it from the ground up. This whole neighborhood was built. So you can see right now it's listed for, well, not listed, but it's appraised at about 310,000. I built this house for 99 grand. It was like 99,000 and some change. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bath or whatever. This front room here used to be my studio room, 2-car garage or whatever. Didn't have this fence and all that kind of stuff there. It was pretty much open. Behind that is a lake, a natural lake. And then there's even behind that, it's a bigger natural lake. It's like a small little man-made like lake type thing. And then behind that was like a natural lake. And it was in a cul-de-sac. So, we had no neighbors behind us, nothing like that. So it was kind of cool. We were like right smack in the center of the cul-de-sac. So, I don't know. I think we had carpet. We didn't have tile like this. I would have remembered that. No, we didn't have tile. Somebody whipped up the carpet and put tile throughout the whole thing. I can see it all the way into the kids' bedrooms and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like we built this house or whatever. And it was cool. I was working at Morgan Stanley back at that time or whatever, making, probably 40 to 50 grand a year. So it was something that we could actually afford to do. And that's the backyard there. Like I said, there's the lake. That's the small lake. And then behind that, way back there is a big old lake. We actually found there's like a 6-foot alligator in this one night. They had to come get that out of there. But you'll see like the tracks from the alligators and stuff. Like you'll see them every once in a while. So, but yeah, this, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I'm used to the prices for back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, 300,000 was like something a lot, greater than even this house, maybe a little bit bigger, a little more space. Cause this is only 1,300 square feet. So if you were spending 300,000 back then, you probably was going to be in the range of like, maybe 1,900 square feet, something like that. So I'm just looking at the houses and just comparing like what's out there or whatever. And I'm like, like, I don't understand how people are making it. It's just astronomical, the price of this real estate. And I'm like, okay, so do I go back to the United States? I might, figure out if I can stay with my sister or somebody for a little bit or whatever. That'll help her, pay a little rent to her. So that helps her household or whatever. And then I can stack my bread and I don't have the big expense of, $2,000 a month for some rent, or $1,800, $2,000 a month for some rent. So, Maybe I could pay her, something, and we'd be good. And we could both kind of, stack our bread a little bit. Get a car or whatever. It's like, these are things that I've avoided in the past. The things that reason why I didn't want to go back to the United States in the past, because I didn't feel like I wanted to get into like the credit system and all that kind of stuff. Like I was saying, it's like I didn't want to be in that. I want to see like, what can I build first? Let me build myself. Let me see if I can get a foundation for myself, and then get into it when I'm prepared for that. So but being outside the country for 7 years, it just opens your eyes, man. It's like, I don't know what happened over like the last probably 10 years or so, because even before that, in like 2011, 2012, I was looking at buying a house, I think. It had to be like 2012 or so. I was looking at buying a house, and and I was able to find things that I could afford on my salary working with, TravelClick or whatever, Easy Yield and TravelClick. And the salary I was making, I was supervising at a small department there. I was able to find houses that I can afford, and now I'm looking like everything is $300,000. Everything is like $300,000 and up. There's a few condos and stuff like that I see for like 100 something, 170, 190 or whatever like that. But I'm like, do you realize that was like a nice house? Like, you buy a brand new house. You used to be able to go like, who are these people? Maybe not DR Horton. I think they were a little more on the higher end. You probably talking 300,000 to 400,000 for them. But Lennar and these other places, people that were building houses or whatever, they was, for 170 to 190,000, you could buy a house. You could get a pretty decent little house. 3 bedrooms at least, 4 bedrooms maybe. A couple of bathrooms or whatever like that, living room space, dining room kind of space or whatever. Like, you could get a really decent house in that price range. And now I started to see everything kind of creeping up, but now it's like, man, even the lowest things are like 300,000. So I'm like, how much money I gotta make to just be able to afford that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta probably make 80 to 100 grand to be able to just kind of get my foot in the door on something like that. Just at the bottom level, you got to make 80 to 100 grand. And is that possible? I don't know. I haven't been in the market for that for a long time. I haven't been in the U.S. job market for a long time. So I don't know. I haven't been in the market since 2014. That's over 10 years. No, but I did work in New York. I did work in New York from 2016 to 2018 or so. I was working before I got here. So, but I wasn't making that much. I'm making, I think at this last company I was with, it might have been like $16 an hour, and I had overtime and all that kind of stuff. And that's how I was kind of preparing myself to come here. And I'm staying with my sister or whatever in New York or whatever. So I'm like, it wasn't costing me a lot. It was like I was able to save more than I was able to, than I needed to spend. I was in a good situation. But I wasn't making that. So I'm like, okay, I got to go there. And now I got to really set my sights really high just to be able to barely qualify for the bare minimum. So I don't know how you guys are doing it with, the mortgage payment don't seem to be exorbitantly high, but you're going to have, anyone from 20 to 40,000 to put down, and then your mortgage payment might be 2,000 or so, or whatever, 2,300, 2,000 or whatever like that. But I'm like, I never paid that before when I was renting or even with my house or whatever like that. I never paid that kind of money before. So that scares me. It really scares me, because it's like, yo, is that really what people is paying? Like, yo, that's some scary stuff. So I'm like, I don't want to be on the hook for $300,000 to $500,000 worth of house when I know that these jobs put you out the door in 5 years. This is a 30-year mortgage. I don't have a guarantee of 30 years for a job. So I got to, in my mindset, I'm like, okay, I got other things that I probably can benefit from setting up when I get to the United States. Like, I have the websites. Now I might have some money to actually be able to market them. I can market them. And that's, it takes money to do that. It takes money to make money. So I really just didn't have the ability to market that stuff. So I spent my time building. The music, I can kind of market that a little bit or whatever, and see if I can take the, the one song that's doing really well in Sweden or whatever like that, that's been paying me royalties. I need like 10 of those. If I get 10 of those, that's cool. Like, maybe I'm getting $1,000 every quarter or whatever like that. I'll be cool. That's an extra $1,000 mailbox money you didn't think of. And I don't know, maybe do that, and I'm working or whatever like that, and just try to make it work. But I don't want to be in that rat race like that, killing myself. So it's like, okay, do I take this money, buy a house there, or do I turn back around and be like, okay, now that I have the information for Brazil, maybe I could take the cash, stack up cash or whatever like that, and come down here, buy something cash, and be finished. So, that's the way that I look at it. And then in the meantime, be building those businesses and those incomes, build those into a good space or whatever like that, where I have multiple streams of income coming in, and I'm good. Then I can come down here, buy my house, have my money coming in or whatever like that, and just maintain that. Who knows how that would turn out in the end? Some of these things work, and then other things might fall off and may not work or whatever. You don't know what's going to happen. So, but I'm looking at it like, is the United States really where I want to be at? Do I want to, because you're going to have to put your all into that. That's what I see. Is like, I can't have 1 foot in the U.S. and 1 foot out. If you're going to be in the U.S., you're going to bust your behind to be there. Because we talking about just a house. Imagine a car. You got to get a car. I think even if you get a car, 25, 30,000 you spend for the car or whatever, that you still gonna have the car payment and all that kind of stuff, and the insurance and everything like that, and you gotta hope nothing happens, and the maintenance and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I gotta buy a brand new car because I'm not paying for maintenance and all that stuff. I'm gonna take it to them and let them fix it when something go wrong, and you're gonna give me my rental car. That I learned that. I learned that being in the United States. I learned that you gotta kind of put that off on somebody else. I've done the trying to fix cars and fixing stuff and doing the brakes and doing I can't do it. Like, I'd rather, for the peace of mind, I'd rather pay for the car and have warranty where they can take care of it if something happens to it. So then it's like, I got to get back into the mind frame of like, okay, what is that like? What do cars cost? Because if houses is jumped up like this, I imagine the cars done jumped up too. So I got to think about all that stuff. That's the process that I got to go through for thinking about like, okay, is it worth me trying to make it work here? Or do I pack up, sell what I got here, whatever, sell, and just go to the United States and make a go of that? But I got to kind of have 1 foot, I got to have both feet in. I can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I got to have both feet in, whatever I'm going to do. And that's going to be important. So, that's just like my experience, and, it's difficult. And I saw a couple videos today talking about returning to the United States and how difficult it is for us to return to the United States. If you've been gone for a long time and you got to go back into that, it's hard, man. We used to so much, man. I'm used to having the beach right over here or whatever, just a block away. If I want to go out there, I go out there. A lot of times I don't even go out there. I went a couple of days ago. I went to Ipanema, but, just to take some video there for the Brazil Living channel, or not Brazil Living, my other channel. But, it's like I miss kind of having that. I'll miss that a little bit. And I miss waking up and doing what I want to do on a daily basis. Right now, it's like I can get up and, if I don't have classes or whatever like that, I can get up at what time I want to get up, make sure I get my rest. I can come in here, do my thing or whatever, build what I want to build. I can work on music if I want to work on it. I have these things that I can do, and I have the ability to make those choices, but that's being taken away at this point. So that's going to narrow down to something else. So now it's like, okay, how do you recreate this situation, but do it on your own dime? Do it where you're in control of 100% of it, and you don't got to worry about nobody else or how it's going to work out or whatever. How do you figure that out? So that's kind of where I'm at. I got to figure this out. And so I might just wrap all this up, close it. I'm thinking within the next week or so, maybe we wrap it up and close. I just got to make a decision, figure out what we're going to do. Sell off what I'm not going to use or what's not going to be necessary or whatever, and then figure out what I'm going to do with my stuff in the house, and maybe I bounce back to the U.S. You just never know. So sorry about the crashing of the computer and all that stuff. That's another reason why it's like I want to be in the United States, because stuff costs so much money here. Is like, for me to get the computer that I need here, that I really need, is really expensive. It's probably like double the cost of the United States. So being in the United States has kind of some blessings, because now that my credit rating is right and all of that, is like I can get things that I need. I don't have to wait to have cash to do it, even though that's kind of part of what I'm gonna do. I don't have to wait. If I need to get it, I can get access to things. And whereas like here, I don't really have access to stuff. I'm relying on other people and all this kind of stuff. I don't really have access to a credit system. I don't really have that. So it's like, it's got to be cash, all cash. So, and I can't be paying double price for it or whatever. I might as well go to the US or whatever and maybe work there, take that money and get what I need. You know what I'm saying? So, but once again, it's Derek. Thanks for checking me out. If you got any suggestions, if you've been through this before, let me know. Holla at your boy. Peace.